Good evening, everyone. Okay, I'm audible. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this masterclass on interview preparation by Wadhwani Foundation. Before we begin, I want to say a few words about Swayam Plus. Swayam Plus is an initiative by the Ministry of Education and IIT Madras. We are an industry and employability focused skilling platform to help learners upskill themselves and become more employable. In this regard, we are hosting a series of masterclasses so learners can hear directly from experts on what is happening in industry. This is a starting point for your transition from academia to industry. Your speaker for today is Mr. Sumeit Gupta. Sumeit is a corporate professional turned keynote speaker. He shares his corporate learnings to help nurture future corporate leaders. With experience leading large teams across product and sales functions, he understands what it takes to have a successful corporate career. His interactions with industry leaders have positioned him as a thought leader and effective manager. Having worked on roles spanning idea incubation, product design, marketing, and strategic positioning, he specializes in effective team management, leadership skills, time management, uh, product development, and channel management. Sumit is a thought leader who leverages ancient scriptures to enhance modern life and glean meaningful insights. He holds a technology degree with a BTech in electronics and telecommunications and an MBA in marketing and finance. He is currently pursuing an LLB due to his interest in the subject. Mr. Sumit, we thank you for your time and look forward to your invaluable expertise and insights. Over to you, Mr. Sumit.
Thank you. Thank you, Romit. Thank you, Swayam Plus. Thank you, Wadhwani, for this incredible opportunity. Just a quick mic check if I'm audible before I begin. Romit, am I good? Am I audible?
Yes, loud and clear.
Fantastic. So once again, thank you so much for this incredible opportunity in terms of talking to these young minds, helping them understand how they can decode uh, the big hype around interview. Swim Plus, I guess, is a brilliant initiative by Ministry of Education, supported by IIT Chennai and many other institutes. And the work that Wadhwani Foundation is doing is just incredible in terms of bringing closely to every individual what matters the most, right? So while I feel honored and privileged to be talking to you, I think each one of you on the call should feel blessed that you have this opportunity aided by Wadhwani, given by Swayam Plus, to really come and talk about something good, which can potentially help you groom as a future leader, right? Crack your first opportunity or next opportunity, and then go on to become successful leaders and give it back to the society. So, when Swam and Wadhwani approached me and they talked about that, okay, we want you to do a masterclass on how to crack an interview. And I mean, this is trust me, this is a very, very interesting subject, right? And why? Because there are number of number of times when you get interviewed and you fail, right? And you need only one successful interview to go and do your dream job, right? Uh, most of the times, most of us actually end up spending a lot of time and in essence of finding the right job for us, right? And similarly, the person who is interviewing, the employer per se, invests a lot of time in terms of interviewing a lot of people to get the right fit for the job. So all in all, it's a very, very beautiful process. It's not something which is scary, first of all. And we will see how beautiful and how scientific this process is, because once you understand the science behind getting interviewed, you will be able to crack the code yourself whenever you go to the next interview, right? So first of all, when you are getting interviewed, you should take a deep breath and just calm your mind down, right? Because a calm mind can think of various different things which you can't if you are in a mind which is restless, right? Which is not calm. So the first thing that you need to do whenever you get an interview call or you are right at the door of entering the interview room, take a deep breath, right? Let's start. So what will we look at today, right? Today, we will look at the science behind interview as to why interviews are being conducted. Why do we need to have interviews? And then what does an interview mean? What are the different types of interviews? And how do we really go and prepare ourselves to give the best interview that can help us clock or get our favorite job or dream job per se? So why interview, guys? So let me ask you a very quick question, and you guys can reply me on the chat that how does it gets decided that who will play for India? So today, India started playing New Zealand. The test match was supposed to start yesterday, but due to rains in Bangalore, it did not. It started off today. India is in a precarious situation to begin with, so I will not talk about that. But then how and who decides that who are going to be the part of that playing 11, right? How do we decide that? To give you a sense of it, if I just talk about Ranji, which is the biggest, so to say, domestic cricket tournament that we have, has close to 570 players that are going to play Ranji, right? This year, this season, right? And this season is a revised format, by the way. Now, 570 players are playing Ranji, and then there are more in thousands who are not even qualifying for Ranji, right? So as rightly said, one of you mentioned that it's by trials, it's by interviews. So what happens is that you need a selection criteria to select this 15-player squad, right? Because everything depends upon where you are going to play. So are we going to use the 15-player squad criteria every time? No, it's going to be different. And we'll talk about this. If you move to the next slide, I will elaborate a bit more on why the interview is done. So first of all, folks, remember that interview is a selection process. It's not a rejection process. Okay. And this is a big thing. I would spend another minute on this. I would like you all to say it yourself, right? Talk to it and speak it loud while you are hearing this, that interview is a selection process and not a rejection process. Now, there's a big difference between these two things, right? When I say that interview is a selection process, I am going with that positive mindset that this interview is about selecting the right person, right? Whereas if I'm going with the mindset that it is a rejection process because only one person is going to get selected, while potentially the other 9 out of 10 are going to get rejected. So it's a rejection process. No, it is not, right? Because then you are walking in with a victim mentality. Then you are walking in with negative thoughts. So interview is not about rejecting people, right? Nobody wants to reject people because everybody understands. So when you go to an interview, understand this. When you come to the interview stage, you have already cleared 2 or 3 stages, right? Which means depending upon the interview, you might have cleared a written examination. You could have cleared a logical reasoning test. Your resume has been shortlisted. So you have gone through a process where you have been selected for the final round, which is going to be an interview. And here also, the process is going to be about selecting the best fit. So you're already good, right? Now, the job of the interviewer or the hiring manager is to find the best person who can do this job, right? Now, link back to the 15-member squad. Let's say the Indian BCCI selecting team has to select a 15-member squad for Australia, right? What do you think the squad will have? The squad will have more of pace bowlers, right? Because we see a lot of seaming pitches in Australia. Whereas if we were to select a 15-member squad for Sri Lanka, where we know that they're going to be turning wickets, we will have more of spinners in that 15-player squad. Now, does that mean that when the squad for Australia was selected, these spinners were not good enough or they were rejected? No, they weren't rejected. They were not selected because in the grounds of Australia, the pacers can deliver and do a much better job as to what the country needs or the cricketing team needs, right? So it is about finding the right and the best fit for the suitable for the job. Now, more importantly, people aren't rejected, but they are not selected because someone else can do the job better. And this links back to the first thing that I said, which I asked you, requested you to talk to yourself loud, that interview is a selection process and not a rejection process, right? So you are not selected, you are not rejected, you are not selected because there was a skill which potentially somebody else could deliver better or somebody else could do that better. Now, let me give you another example. So you get interviewed for a creative agency, right? And you as a person or as a candidate is very good with data analysis, right? And you are creative as well. But your strength lies in data analysis. Now you appear for a job which comes up at a creative agency, and the creative agency is looking for a creative engineer to deliver new creatives and work on that process. Now, you may feel that you are a good fit because you understand processes, you can do a lot of data crunching and data mining, and you are creative. And then there's another person who is very, very creative, but who also understands the process and can do data mining a bit. Now, for the hiring manager, creativity for this job is utmost important, right? Because you need people who can be creative, who can think different, because that's the nature of this job. Whereas in the same creative agency, if there was a role of doing analysis of campaigns, right, then the first candidate whose strength lies in data crunching and data mining will become a better fit, because here the intent is to generate insights into how a particular campaign has performed, right? So depending, the moment you change the nature of job, and these are in the same organization, you're getting me? It's in the same organization, but the nature of job is slightly different, and that makes one person stand out on top of the other person, saying that I'm a better fit because for this role I am creative, whereas for this role I am more data analytic, right? So accordingly, whosoever is hiring for each of these roles will select the right person. So the point that I'm trying to make here, friends, is that you are not getting rejected, but it is that somebody else who has better skills gets selected. Now, that is the core essence of why interviews are being conducted. And as some of you pointed out in chat, that for 15-member squad, we will do trials. Somebody said we will do interviews. Somebody said we will look at performances. So all of these are correct. But for us in corporate job, nobody sees. So let's say I'm going to apply for an XYZ company and I'm currently working at ABC company. Now my the people at ABC know about the work that I am doing, right? But the people at XYZ don't know about the work that I'm doing. So what do they do? Right? While, when you link it back to cricket, Ranji matches are being played. The selectors go from one match to the other match to look at performances, and they prepare a pool of players that, okay, these are the players that we are going to consider for the next series, international series. That, unfortunately, is not available in corporate jobs because the work that we do inside our organizations or the studies that we have done in our college, everything, right? Everything is very, very micromanaged. It stays within the doors, it stays within the walls. So that is why the hiring people or the hiring employers have to frame a process to ask to get interviewed, right? So that's the first thing, right? Hope you understand that why an interview is required. So remember, the key thing here is interviews are a selection process and not a rejection process, right? Good. Great. Let's move on. So when you do that, once you understand now that why interviews are being conducted to select you, you also need, the first thing that you have to do is to read the job description perfectly, right? And it's not about reading, it's about understanding the job description. Now, when the job description says that you are going to do X, Y, and Z things, you have to understand what will it take for me to do these things. Does Are these the things that I really want to do as an individual? Right? So let's say I'm into a sales job. I apply for a sales role in one of the big organizations, and but the sales profile is about going direct and doing direct selling. Right? It's about door-to-door selling. So while it's a sales job, it's with a big organization, but the sale process is not about going and selling to distributors or to retailers or to, let's say, bigger enterprises, bigger other organizations, but it is about going from one door to other door and trying to sell your product. Now, is that something that I want to do? So when I look at the job title, it says business development manager, or it says sales manager for Gurgaon, or it says sales manager for Ranchi, right? That's it. Now, does that title tells me that how am I going to sell? No, right? That you will get to know once you read the job description, right? Once you understand that what are the jobs and tasks that you will have to do as sales manager of Ranchi to be successful in that role. When I read that job description, I understand that this job is about selling from one door to other door, moving from one place to other place. Am I comfortable with this? I might be or I might not be comfortable, right? If I'm not comfortable, I should ideally not apply for that job, because even if I get selected, right, I will not be happy doing that job, right? Or it may not be my strength. Like my strength could be selling to bigger enterprises. I am more of enterprise seller, right? I'm a sales manager who likes to sell to bigger enterprises, talk to different CXOs in the organizations, convince them on finding a solution, as compared to going from one home to the other home or from one door to the other door and trying to solve or sell my product. So once you understand the jobs and tasks, you will be able to pin down on what jobs you should really go for and how you should prepare for those jobs, right? So remember, guys, point number one, remember, understand the jobs and tasks of the job that you're getting interviewed for. Read the job description thoroughly, right? Understand every bit of it. If you have questions, ask the HR manager, right? Because it's usually the HR or the consultant who is reaching out to you. If you don't understand anything in that job description, take your time, talk to the hiring HR, talk to the consultant, and understand from them that what does it really mean, and then take a informed decision that how are you going to prepare for that interview, right? So that's one. The second important aspect in getting interviewed is you also need to understand that there are different types of interviews, right? Now, as we said, if we were to select a 15-member squad for Australia or for Sri Lanka, the criterias are going to be different, right? As we said, for Australia, we will need more seaming bowlers, whereas for Sri Lanka, we will need a lot of spin bowlers. Similarly, if we were to look at different types of interviews, we can classify these interviews in four types. One of them is campus recruitment. Second are open interviews. Third is the job interviews that you get through job market or consultants or job sites. And fourth is it's an internal interview where you are getting promoted or you are shifting levels. Now, let me quickly explain to all of you, each of these types, right? And then we will see that why does it really matter, right? An interview is an interview. So how does it really matter if it's a campus interview or an open interview? No, no, my friends. It depends. It varies because each of this interview will look at different sides of you. So understand, uh, your interview is typically going to last for anything between 15 minutes to an hour or hour and a half, right? Depends upon what role you are getting interviewed for. Now, for you to present yourself and for the hiring manager to understand you, there is this very short window of about 15 to 60 minutes where this person has to decide whether to hire you or not hire you, right? Whether you are the best fit or you're not the best fit. So, depending on what is the type of interview, they will focus their efforts on that side. So campus recruitment, let's first talk about campus recruitment and then we will understand how it varies. So campus recruitments are typically where companies come to your college, the companies come to your campus from where you're pursuing your courses or your degrees, be it bachelor's or master's, and they take people along with them to work in their organization. That's typical campus recruitment. Open interviews, on the other hand, are job openings that are being floated by a lot of organizations where they say that we have, let's say, 50 openings, and for which we are going to conduct open interviews. So everybody who thinks they are eligible can come and apply. So it's typically that you go to that organization, submit your resume on that particular date, which has been publicized, and you give an interview or, you know, get selected basis you're shortlisted or you get selected. The third is the interview calls that you get through job market or consultants or job sites, right? So there are a lot of consultants who are working in the market. There are consultants who are being deployed or the services are being taken by a lot of organizations that, we want to hire a sales or a business development manager or a marketing manager or a chief engineer or chief design engineer. So these kind of jobs get publicized by different companies. They either publish it on sites like Naukri.com or Times Job and multiple other sites like IM Jobs. And they also give it to consultants. So these are the consultants who will reach out to you. They will explain to you what the job is about, which organization it is about. And then they will forward your resume, whether it gets shortlisted. If it gets shortlisted, you are then being called for an interview. The fourth type is that you are working already in an organization, you are working at a level X, and now because you have been performing very well, you are going to get promoted. For that, you get interviewed that are you ready for the next level or not? So these are like internal promotions, these are like shifting levels within the same job. Now, why this type is very important. So I'll go back to the sports, right? Now, everybody, all of us must be playing one or the other type of racket sports, right? So when you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you would see that there are 5 different types of rackets. Uh, 4 of them are being played with a ball, one of them is being played with a shuttle. But the fact is, while all of them are racket sports, but for each sport, you need a different kind of racket, right? Can you really play good table tennis using a squash racket? Perhaps. I can't do it. And if one of you has superhuman skills, potentially can do this, but it's not recommended, right? If you have to play table tennis, you have to use a TT racket. Similarly, using a TT racket, I really can't play in a squash court, right? Because the kind of force that I need to hit that puck requires strength, requires the tensile strength of the strings, right? More so that the puck is of rubber. So it has to get heated to perfectly bounce well, right? Similarly, if I were to hit shuttlecock with a tennis racket, I may not be able to generate the speed which Lakshya Sen potentially or Sindhu is generating, right? Because the tensile strength of the strings is very different in these two rackets. Similarly, because now, if you understand this difference, that for racket sports, we need different kind of rackets. Similarly, in previous slide, we understood different types of interviews. So what do we need? What are the things that gets evaluated in these type of interviews is what we will see in the next slide. So when you go to this next slide, and you read here, the first one we said is campus recruitment. Now, when you look at campus recruitment, what will the typical hiring manager or the HR person would like to test you on? right? So of course, understand it's from campus. So you don't have, most of the times, you don't have a work experience. So they would not like to test you on how well can you do that job, because you haven't done that job ever, right? So they can't test you on the work knowledge. Rather, they will test you on your ability to learn, right? How quickly can you learn the processes and systems of the organization that you're going to be part of in case you get selected? How adaptable you are, how communicative you are, how what are your communication strengths, right? Are you a good communicator? Are you a good listener? Can you express yourself? Can you write good mails? So depending upon that requirements, the campus recruiter will look at these skills that they will mostly test. They will not test you on how good you can do a job, right? They will test you on these. Similarly, open job interviews, where there is going to be a blend of people who will come with, let's say, 2 years of experience, 3 years of experience, whereas some will come as freshers only because they have passed out of the college about 5 months back or 3 months back, and they haven't got campus placed. They are still searching for a job. So all that there's going to be a mixed set of people that are going to come for those open job interviews. There, most likely the skills that you are going to be tested upon are going to be critical thinking, right? How well can you think under stress? How well can you think under pressure? How different can you think? How collaborative you are, right? So if you are being given a task, how collaborative you are, how productive you are, how do you do your time management, how do you do your task management, how do you prioritize your task, are things that typically the interviewer is going to talk about and evaluate you on. So the reason, friends, I'm telling you all of this is because depending on the type of interview that you're going to go for, you should prepare your answers on these skill sets. And the beautiful part here is that Wadhwani and Swam have created such amazing repository of courses that can help you enhance each of these skills in a different way, which I'm sure Shrunk from Wadhwani and even Romit from Swam will talk about that at a later stage. But the point here is that if you know the interview and the skill that you're going to get tested on, you can prepare your answers, right? So let's say I'm going for an open job interview and I know that I will be tested on collaboration. Do I have an example ready to showcase my skill set on collaboration? So let's say the moment the hiring manager or the HR person asks me a disguised question about collaboration, one thing is I can always say, yes, I'm very collaborative. Everybody says that. But do I have an example to prove it from real life? Is there an example? Is there a job? Is there a task that I accomplished in my previous job or in my previous organization or in my college if I'm a fresher, where it talks about collaboration, where it talks about bringing people together and making them work towards a common objective? If you have that example ready, trust me, you're going to score far better than a person who just tells that I'm collaborative without giving an example, right? So once you understand the skill set which is required for each type of interview or for the job that you are applied for, you can match your examples to these skill sets, right? Shran, we can go a slide back, let people consume about the other two things also. So let's say job market, consultants, the next one, the next one. Uh-uh. We're going quite back. Shrang, you have to move. Next, please. Next. Yeah, let's stay here. Thank you. Thank you, Shrang. So when you talk about job market, when you talk about consultants, job sites, there people are going to talk about your collaboration. They would like to test your skills on productivity, very similar to open job interviews. And they will want to talk about information literacy, info, how good you are with information, right? So there is a basic difference between data and information. So data is that you have a lot of stuff around you, a lot of information around you. Can you make that into actionable insights? Is what information literacy is all about. And last but not the least, internal promotions, job postings, where they will like to test you effectively on leadership. because you're going to go to a higher job role. You're going to go to a higher grade. It may involve managing a set of people. So earlier, potentially, you were in an individual contributor role. Now, you could potentially be managing a team of 5 people, 10 people, 15 people. Or if you're already managing a team of 10, 15 people, this next role is going to ask you to manage about 50 people across 2 different levels, right? So how good are your leadership skills? How adaptable you are? Because with higher responsibilities so let's say with higher perks will come higher responsibilities. How adaptable you are to manage in that situation of ambiguity, and how good are your social skills, because once you are at the higher level, you have to liaison well with all the other departments, right? So let's say if you're part of the sales team and you have become the sales head of an organization, you have to manage, you have to work closely with the after sales team. You have to work closely with the marketing team. You have to work closely with the finance team, the accounts team, and you have to work very closely with the strategy team to align everybody to say, okay, this is what we are going to deliver in this year. This is how we are doing. This is where we have a problem. Let's say interaction with the product team saying that, while the product is good, but it's just not working. So what can we do? So it's about how well can you interact with everybody else. So, so this brings us to the second most important point, friends, which is understanding and evaluating yourselves on the skills that you're going to get evaluated on. So before the interviewer is going to evaluate you, you should evaluate your own skills. And once you are evaluating your own skills, you should also put and create, not rather create, but assemble your examples around it to say that, okay, if I am going to talk about how creative I am, this is the example that I'm going to give. If there is a question about teamwork, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is how my answer is going to look like if somebody is evaluating me on my team spirit or teamwork skill sets, right? So point number one was understanding the tasks that you're supposed to do in the job. The second important aspect is evaluating your own skills, that how good you are in the skill sets which you are potentially going to get tested upon, right? Great. I'm sure you all are with me so far, right? Can I see a few thumbs ups? Can I see yeses so that we can move to the third important aspect of cracking the interview? Okay. Some yeses, yes, that's very nice. Thank you, Prabhat. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you, Paresh. Great. Let's move on. So we have done two sides of it. Let's look at the third important aspect, which, my friends, is making an impression, right? And you would have all heard about this n number of times, that first impression is the last impression. And that's true, right? Because link back to what I said about 5 minutes ago, that the interviewer or the hiring manager and you both have only about 15 to 60 minutes to make a decision whether you are going to be the best fit or somebody else is going to be the best fit, right? For you also, as an interviewee, to decide whether this is the organization that you are really interested in working for, whether this is the job that you are really interested in working, you have 15 to 60 minutes to decide that, right? So when the time period is so short, the first impression that you make is going to be perhaps potentially one of the lasting impressions, right? And for that, for you to make an impression, you don't have to do anything out of the box, right? You just have to follow the basics that every good human being should follow, which is respect the chair. Now, why do I say respect the chair and I don't say respect the interviewer, right? So, friends, what happens? There are times, right, that you might find yourself in a situation where, the person who is interviewing you because of stroke of luck or because of hard work was your colleague, and now he has become your senior and he's evaluating you for the next role. Or there could be an instance that the person who is interviewing you looks pretty young to you, right? So he might be in his early 20s, while So let's say, I'm an old man and I'm going for an interview to one of the founders, right? One of the startups. Let's say I'm going to go for an interview to one of these startups. Uh, let's take a startup. Let's say Noise, right? So Noise is a startup everybody has heard of. They make those beautiful headphones. They make a lot of smartwatches, accessories, and all of that stuff. There are two founders for Noise. Both of them are in their early 30s. I'm an old man. I'm into my early 40s. Now, when I go for an interview, I might feel like, yeah, I'm such an accomplished corporate professional. Why should I be giving interview to these 34-year-olds and 35-year-olds? They hardly know anything, right? I could get that theory, right? I could get that thoughts in my mind that why am I going to give interview to these young people? They don't know as much as I know. That is where it becomes important that you respect the chair. Because understand, this person, these two gentlemen who have founded Noise, who are the founders of Noise, are sitting on that chair of being a founder, which I haven't done, right? So they have done something which I have not been able to accomplish so far, right? So I may not be able to respect the person, but I should respect the chair on which that person is sitting, right? And that's very, very important. So respect the chair. So when I say respect the chair, it means it does not mean that you go and touch their feet and all of that stuff. It just means that you give that regard, you give that feeling that uh, the the person sitting on that chair has accomplished something which is admirable, right? Which potentially, if you are also given the right opportunity, you will also be able to do. That's what you're going to prove to them over a period of time, right? Once your interview starts. But before that, show that respect to the chair, because tomorrow you are going to be sitting on that chair and you will expect the interviewee who's coming and sitting in front of you to show that respect towards the chair on which you are sitting, right? That's one. Second, to make a lasting impression, if you want honest feedback, be honest in your interview, right? It so often happens that most of the times we don't get a good feedback on how good your interview went, or why were you not selected, what went wrong, what did not work, who got selected. There could be multiple questions in your mind. Now, if I this comes from a personal experience that there have been times when I have got rejected in my interviews and I have asked for a feedback and I've got good feedbacks, right? There are times when there was a skill set, there was a skill which was required, which I did not have. So they obviously preferred somebody else. And there are multiple instances of why I failed. I could get that honest feedback because I was very honest in my interview. I was not faking anything, right? If I had a skill set, I expressed it. I showed it to them through examples, practical examples that I have done and I have delivered. If it was not, I would rather step back and say, I think that I am creative, but I haven't had an opportunity so far to show my creativity. That's something that I will tell them if somebody asks me about a skill set which potentially I haven't worked on. Now, because I was being honest in those interviews, I could get a very honest feedback, which helped me improve myself and prepare for the next interview, right? So be honest. If you expect honesty, you have to be honest yourself, right? Third, you can fake the interview, but you cannot fake performance. So we are all smart people. All of you, young blood, you guys are very, very smart. Uh, you guys can potentially do whatever you strive for, right? So for you, trying to understand the job task that the job has to perform, and the skills that are required for that particular thing, you guys are smart to make 2 plus 2 4, right? So you can fake the interview. But once you start working in that job, if you don't like that job, if you don't have that skill set, friend, you will not be able to perform, right? So while you may not be thrown out of the job, but you will not be coming home satisfied because you're not doing what you went out for, what you set out for, right? So that's why don't fake an interview, right? Because if you do it, you will not be able to fake your performance though, because that's going to be absolute. Last Be calm and patient. Take that deep breath. It is not the first interview and it is not going to be the last interview that you're going to give. As we said, interview is about selection. It's not about rejection. If you are the best fit for that job, nobody can stop you from getting that job. But you have to be calm and patient, right? Because everybody who has walked into that room, everybody who is getting interviewed is walking with potentially same expectations, potential with same rigor, with same mindset of cracking the job interview, right? So if you follow these four things, I am pretty sure, and I have observed it and I have seen this because these are the things when I have interviewed people, I have looked in them, right? And that leaves a very lasting impression of the candidate on me. So if I'm in doubt, I will go back to my notes and I would refer that, how calm, how patient the candidate appeared to me. Was the person in a hurry? Was the person quite eager to answer? So, you have to strike that balance. You have to be very poised, calm, and patient. So this is how typically you make impressions. Now, we have done three important things, right? Of cracking the interview. And once you combine all of them, it forms a very beautiful word, which you can easily remember, which is sit. So, how do you give an interview? You give an interview while you are seated, right? So, to crack an interview, you also have to sit. What does it sit means now? The sit means S stands for skills that you require. So you have to evaluate your skills, right? I is making an impression that lasts. People remember you for that. And third, you should know that what are the tasks that you are going to accomplish if you get this job. Once you understand these tasks, once you have evaluated your skills, and once you make a good impression, you are all sorted to go and crack that interview. So that's the mantra. Very simple. Sit to crack an interview. So while you sit for your next interview, there is a quick slide on what are the prerequisites that you should be doing, right? These are basics, non-negotiable, if I may say so, right? These are things that you should absolutely stay on top if you want that you're going to be successful in your interview. First, be punctual. And when I say punctual, be there 10 minutes before, or 5 minutes before, or 15 minutes before. Don't be late. The traffic is very, very dynamic, right? Have that time in your hand. If there is an online session, log in 5 minutes before, check your internet, check your voice quality, check your video quality, do that stuff. Be ready. Don't spend that 15 or 60 minutes that you have with the interviewer, right? Don't waste that. Because if you are not punctual, if you have not tested your microphone, if you have not tested your camera, if you have not tested your internet connectivity, it is getting deducted from those 15 to 60 minutes that you have with the interviewer, which means it's less time for you to convince that person that you are the best fit, right? So it's your loss. It's not interviewer's loss. So be punctual. Second, be presentable, right? If you are switching on your camera, if you're going to meet somebody in person, that person should feel like talking to you, right? You should look great. And it does not mean that you have to be clean shaven. It does not mean that you have to have a particular set of hairstyle or you have to wear a tie or a three-piece suit or something like that. You have to be presentable. And being presentable is about knowing what goes well on your body, right? So be presentable. Third, which I would say is the most important, and I have personally seen a lot of people that I interviewed, they did not know what was on their resume, right? Now, when I say know your resume, it effectively means that you should know exactly what you have written on your resume, right? And it starts from your resume title, where you say that you are a qualified techno commercial XYZ, right? Whatever you have written. That opening statement, the opening title of your resume is something also that you should know because you will be asked about it, right? You will be you should be knowing what you have written. If you're saying that you want to work in an environment where you're going to make a difference, you have to know that you have written that on your resume. It becomes very, very awkward when the interviewer picks up something from your resume and you have no clue that, oh, this was also in my resume, and it's like you just don't even know your resume. So it's like a bad impression, right? So prerequisites. So sit and prerequisites. These are the things that potentially are going to help you crack your interview. Now, I would like to end. We are already running short of time. I would like to end with a very famous quote that Arthur Ashe is a legendary tennis player. And she once said that success comes from self-confidence, right? You will be successful if you are self-confident. And the self-confidence will come from preparation, right? So understand it. Success will come from self-confidence, and your confidence will come from preparation. And preparation, you guys are glad, you should be glad, you guys are lucky that for preparation, you have Swam Plus and Wadhwani, who are going to help you prepare well for your next round of opportunities, right? So with this, I would hand it over to Shang to talk more about how Wadhwani and Swam can help students prepare for their next big opportunity. Thank you.
Trung, I have made you co-host. Just check if you were able to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sumit, for that breathtaking presentation. While you were speaking, and though I've heard you quite a few times, I've also had a chance to closely know you since so many years. I was still making notes and grabbing so many new things from the presentation. As you rightly said, preparation is the key towards succeeding. So, and through the tools that we provide, and we'll be sharing some of them as a takeaway as we end this presentation, you can actually go ahead and tag the next interview that you appear for. On that note, I will urge all of you to park your questions in the Q&A box, and we will utilize the remaining time to address them. So do put in your questions as we move through the remaining part of the presentation. Now, some of you are, as I'm aware of, have already registered on the Swayam Plus portal. However, some of you are new to this platform. So, to access the wonderful courses that we're providing, and let me remind you that all of the courses are available at no cost. All you need to do is you need to log on to the Swayam Plus platform or the website. The URL you can see on my page, which is you can simply look up Swayam Plus on the internet and hit in the official Swayam Plus platform. And if you click the home page, this is where you will see all the different courses that you can avail. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can look for the courses that we will provide you as a free takeaway that you can sign up right now. Now, so I will click on Explore Courses here, and I'll scroll down and select the partner as Wadhwani. Now, this will show you some 40 plus courses that are available in different languages, being from Oriya to Marathi to English and so on and so forth. Now, these courses are short-term courses, which is ranging from 6 hours to full-fledged courses, which could be a 3-month course, which could be completed in 120 hours. Now, let me also remind you that Wadhwani Foundation is the only partner on the Swayam Plus platform who's providing you a accredited course at no cost. This is something very rare and unique. So if I was to register on this course, which is Employability Skills Job Ready, I would simply click on it and click on Enroll Now, which will bring me to this registration page where I have to fill some basic details. And submit. Now, as I'm moving with you, I'm actually registering live for the very first time on this platform as I'm moving. And that's about it. You are first time ask for an OTP, which is sent to your email box, and you're done. Now, I will select and click on enroll and enroll now. This is the first page that I see when I have registered. So I'll skip some of the options that are there. It's giving me some tutorials that I would need to go. Now the breakthrough is the My Interview Coach, which is available as a tool. We'll look at it just in a moment, but I'll quickly show you what are the different options and tools that are available on this. So firstly, the core course is available for you to navigate. It's a recorded course, which is a live interactive course, and we call it a course which involves experiential learning. So, okay, let me just click on it again. Here you go. So one, it gives me a bucket of options. I can also go ahead and interact with a live faculty. I can book a live session, which is something really, really amazing. I can go ahead and look at various tools which will help me with the placement prep. This course is backed up by AI. So if I'm stuck while pursuing a particular course, if I'm interacting with the content, I can certainly go ahead and give it a cue that explain and provide more information, and it will provide me. So I'm going to take a quick moment and show you My Interview Coach, which is my favorite tool on this particular platform. And to do that, I'm turning my camera off for a moment because this My Interview Coach will utilize my camera. So I click on Start Practicing. It'll ask you that whether I'm a fresher or experienced person. So I'm putting that I'm a fresher here. And I want to apply for backend developer role. So what you see is that it will amazingly give you the list of the commonly asked questions that I need to prepare for. And it'll also give us some generic questions that I could start preparing, which could be required or be asked in any job. So I'll select this question, which is describe your top 3 strengths, and click on next. It'll ask me to turn my camera on, and I can actually prepare as if I'm giving my interview live. Hi, my name is Shrang Gupta, and my top 3 strengths are first, collaboration. I like to collaborate with different teams to come up with solution and provide an end-to-end solution to the clients. My second top skill is being analytical. I like to deep dive into data and come up with the reasons so that the solution is not just superficial or from the thought, but actually scientific and backed by data. And thirdly, I love to present. I like to talk to people. I'm a people's person, and presenting and talking to them makes me really happy. And that's one of the skills which I'm proud of. So I'll stop and submit. And within seconds, you'll see that it'll analyze my response. It'll give me a rating, and it'll provide me a detailed, I would say, analysis of how my interview has been. So I have received an overall rating of 3.25. Now it says that interview was good strengths and has good strengths and was able to communicate them well. The response could be improved with more clarity and specific example, which probably I missed on. And focus on providing clear, concise, and illustrative responses. So in a nutshell, it has gone into details also what I could do. And then I could go back and try the response again after preparing. So this is one really cool tool. Now, not just this, but I could actually go ahead and utilize some really wonderful services. For example, booking a personal mentor for myself, or booking or being a part of such amazing classes, which master classes, which happen every single week. And there's also a forum, a community wherein people are part of, they can put in their questions. So all of this is a comprehensive offering available at no cost and with credit on the Swayam Plus portal. So I would urge you all to start booking your course right now, and all of this is available right now on the platform. So go ahead and book your course right away. So thank you so much, and over to Romit to continue with the Q&A and conclude the session for us.
Thank you, Shrang. We do have a few questions, so let me just go through them. There are a few, so let me, if of course you're free to type in more questions, but one of the questions is, as a fresher, this is a question from Arun M. As a fresher, how can I show that I'm a good fit when I don't have the skills mentioned in the job description?
Okay, it's good question. So let's go. This is Abhijit has asked this, right? Okay, great. Abhijit, go back to the SIT framework, right? The T stands for tasks that you're going to do in that job, which means you have to read the job description pretty well. And S stands for evaluating your skills. So once you do these two parts of it, you will understand that whether you're going to be a good fit or not. As I mentioned, when I was talking about understanding the job description, take your time, take help, reach out to the publishing manager, whosoever has sent you that job description, talk to them, understand from them if you don't understand what this particular statement means, what this particular sentence means, right? How is it going to actually be in practical world? So once you do that evaluation of tasks that you're going to accomplish, and that's where you can go and match your skill set to it, even as a fresher, right? So the key here is read the job description well, understand from it that what is required, take help. You have some amazing tools that Shrang was showing at Wadhwani and at Swayam. Use those tools to decrypt the job description, so to say. I hope that answers you, Abhijit.
Thank you, Sumit. We have a question from Kiara. She says, as women, how can we be presentable? I think this is to do with the grooming section, which you had presented about.
Yes, fantastic question, Kyra. And I think as a female, uh, we all females are blessed with various kind of options to be presentable, right? So you have the flexibility of wearing Western formals, which could be a jacket on a trouser with a shirt. You have beautiful Indian attire in terms of a sari, a formal sari that you can wear. You can even wear a very formally stitched suit, right? Depending upon the job requirement. But I would still prefer go either for Western formals or go for an Indian formal, which happens to be sari. And I guess you will be pretty sorted, right? You don't need to make a fancy hairdo. You need to have a very basic hairdo which suits your face, which looks pretty neat, and it communicates the professionalism inside you, right? I hope that answers you, Kaira.
Thank you, Sumit. We have another question from earlier on. I think this was when you're talking about, how to talk about your strengths and so on. The question is, how does one answer a question about one's weakness?
Very, uh, it's a very interesting question that typically interviewers asked. And trust me, most of the times when as an interviewer, when I have asked this question that, okay, tell me about your weaknesses, it's not something that I'm really interested in knowing. I'm only interested in knowing that how do I handle this situation, right? Because it's a very tricky question. You're asking somebody, tell me what is not your strength and what are your weaknesses. Now, the key here is that you have to disguise your weakness as a strength. Like, let's say if I were to give you a weakness, right? I might say that I'm a perfectionist. Now, perfectionist is a strength, right? How can it be a weakness? That's the next question that the interviewer is going to ask me. So you say that being perfectionist is your weakness, but why do you say so? I say so because there are times when something needs to be delivered very quickly, right? But because I'm a perfectionist, I try and do a lot of iterations to make it perfect. And that's where it might just take me that extra ounce of time, that it might just take me that extra bit of time to do and reach that perfection. So at times I feel that, it becomes my weakness. So that's how you beautifully disguise one of your strengths as weakness and communicate, because you obviously don't want to tell your weakness to anyone. Chanakya famously said that hide your weaknesses not only from your enemies but even from your friends, because if somebody knows your weakness, they are going to pounce on it, right? And Chanakya was a great scholar. We don't have to debate on that. So when you have somebody's asking you about weakness, you have to disguise your strengths, link it to the job description that you have read, and show that why in some instances my strength could become my weakness, right? That's how you disguise that question.
Thank you, Sumit. We have another question. It says, if they ask what your salary expectations are, what is the best way to address that question?
So, as I said, one is be honest, right? Now, being honest here does not mean that you tell them your wish list, right? And the wish list could be, I want 5 lakh rupees a month or 10 lakh rupees a month, right? That could be my wish. But the salary expectation, this is about how well you have researched about this job, right? When somebody is asking you this question, understand the mindset behind it. They want to understand that how well do you understand this job? How well do you know that what's the salary bracket that people are getting paid on this typical roles, right? And that's how you should answer that question depending upon your current salary. That is where what current salary you are drawing at this point in time. What are the additional responsibilities that you're going to deliver in this new job? And for that, what's the extra premium that you can command, right? What is the extra skill that you are bringing on table? So when you're answering this question about what are the salary expectations, you should take a moment to tell the person that what is the value that you are going to bring on table. And because you are going to bring this value on table, this is what you expect in terms of your financial remuneration. So just don't go and give them a number which is arbitrary, right? You have to justify your number. How do you justify that number? If you tell them that if I were to do this job, if you were to hire me, these are the values that I'm going to bring on table. These are the skills that I'm going to give to this organization and help them deliver things better. Because of which, this is the remuneration that I'm expecting, right? So there is no set formula of what you have to say as salary. It's about how well you can justify whatever you are asking for. If you think that you can justify 5 lakh rupees a month, go ahead and ask. Nobody's stopping you.
Thank you, Sumit. I think we have quite a few questions, but since we've exceeded time, I'll go with the last one. I'll stick to one more. The question is, how do you answer the question, why did you choose this job? Or why are you the best fit for this job?
Yeah, fantastic question. Go back. Guys, go back to the SIT formula. SIT. What does T stands for? Understanding the job description. Once you understand the job descriptions, once you have evaluated your skills, you have answered yourself that why are you applying for this job? Once you have answered yourself, once you have convinced yourself as to why this is the right job for you and why do you want to do this job, convincing anybody else is a cakewalk, because you know that what does it take to deliver in this job and what skills you have to make you deliver those tasks in this job. So once you understand both of these things, you can answer this question pretty well. So go back to the SIT framework, SIT.
Okay. I will take one last one because it's come a second time. It's a question from Rajneesh Tiwari. So it's a sort of a specific situation. How to address a concern if you are not employed and working as an individual consultant for a year and now want to join the workforce of your industry? industry being IT services and consulting?
Great question, Rajneesh. Uh, I will fall back to the SIT framework, right? And in the SIT framework, I stands for making an impression. And in that making an impression, we talked about being honest, right? So when you took a break, when you walked out of corporate and started doing something on your own, you were trying to achieve something. You had a different thought process. It may have worked, it may not have worked, right? Because we only see startups which are successful, but behind every one successful startup, there are typically 999 unsuccessful startups. So failing is not bad. Accepting or not accepting that failure is bad, right? So while you have failed, in that failure, you have learned something, right? And there could be reasons why now you want to come back to the corporate world again, why you want to join the workforce again. Be honest about it, right? Nobody is going to judge you on that. People are going to judge you on, can you deliver on the tasks that are required in that job or not, right? Success and failure are part of everybody's life, right? No, there is no one who has been successful throughout their career. There is no one who would say that I have been successful in anything and everything that I have done. I will take a very quick example, Romit, from Roger Federer's speech that he delivered at one of the graduation ceremonies in US, where he said that of all the points that he played in his professional tennis career, he lost almost 60% of those points. Guys, 60% of the points he did not win. He only won 40% of the points. And in that process, he won 21 Grand Slams, right? So success and failure are part of everybody's life. It's about accepting them and convincing the other person that, yes, I learned this in the process, and this is where I'm going to come back to the corporate world. So be honest, right? If you're being honest, the interviewer is a human being. He or she will definitely understand what situation you have been through, and they will not judge you basis that. That's my understanding. That's how I read people. Romit, Shrang, if you guys want to add something to it.
Thank you, Sumit. I think there was a good example of Roger Federer where he said,
Yeah,
60% of these points in his career he's lost, but all his
right.
Grand Slams are from those 40% of points. So that goes to show that if you stick with your process and stick with what you're good at.
Yeah.
So let me move on. Now, I think we won't take any more questions. So I think it has been a very good session, right? So I'd like to thank you, Mr. Sumit. It was a very enlightening session indeed. A big thank you to all the participants for attending and actively participating with your questions. I request you to register on Swayam Plus and follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter. We're also on YouTube, where the recording of this video shall be uploaded for your future reference. Thank you all once again, and wish you a very good evening and a happy learning journey with Swayam Plus. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all.